Okay, so I'm working on this 2013 Hyundai Sonata. Um, we're going to be replacing the headlight bulbs up here, the low and the high beams. You got two different bulbs there, and this may pertain to you. I'm going to be putting LEDs on here, but if you need to change these out, this could, help you out in that situation. So I'm going to show you what I have because I'm going with the LEDs here. Okay, so regardless if you're doing LEDs or just regular halogen, you're going to need an H11 for your low beam. This is going to be your low beam. Let's get it out and just look at this one. Okay, so this is what the LED looks like. Now, they all look a little bit different. Now, your bulb will be, if it's just the OEM, it'll just have the, little connector on the back of the bulb. But these are called Farins. These are one of the best LEDs out there. Definitely will not be disappointed with these. So this is our low beam, and probably the biggest trick with these is just getting the wires and stuff to fit inside the housing there, but I haven't had an issue as of yet. Okay, so this is going to be our high beam. This is the H7. Okay, now this is, said if you have just a regular halogen bulb, you're just going to have basically this part with a plug on it. Now, here's the tricky part when it comes to LEDs when you're dealing with certain cars. For this particular car, for the high beam, I cannot just put this in there. There's no way of mounting it because of the way the connector is, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. Basically, what they make is these little adapter kits for different vehicles, and this just so happens to be the one that I need. And this is what, if you look at the OEM plug, the regular bulbs, what they do, and you do not want to touch these chips, by the way, just like you don't want to touch your halogen bulb. But basically this is going to set on there. The regular bulb would set onto the little clip and plug in. Well, in this case, we've got to put this on here, but it has to go behind this. So in order to do that, you got to remove this little collar and slip this on. So we're going to just go ahead and do that at this point because we're going to need to do that anyways. But as far as removal, what you're going to do is it's kind of like a spring-loaded collar. You're going to have to push down, and as you want to keep in mind where this is located. Now, another point I want to make, when we put this in to the headlight assembly, we want this bulb to be setting like this. We want these chips to be to the sides. We don't want it like this. We want it to be setting like this. So it could be that I have to adjust this collar even after I get it on here, and if so, then so be it. But anyways, what we're going to do is just gently push down on this, and we're just going to rotate that a little bit, and it's going to slip off of here eventually. Okay, so there we get those notches lined up. We want to make sure that we put that back on there the same. So just like that. So then we're going to put this behind it. And we're going to slip this back on. You see those slots? We're going to slip this back on there. So this is just the first step in this process here. Okay, it's going to go like that. Sits in there into that part just like that. But I'm going to snap this back around. I don't know if I'm going to have to move this or not, I'm going to twist this. So it's got different locations you can put it at. I'm just going to put it back where it was up here. Okay, so that's where we started out at. So we're gonna fix that. Now, right now it's kind of sitting on here kind of loose, but when we go to put this into the housing, it's going to fasten in there nice and tight. You see how that just goes just like that. So anyways, we are going to be getting to our headlights over here. So we got to do that on both of those, and then we get them over there, we can put those in. Okay, so the saying, safety first. Because this is a hybrid, the first thing we're going to want to do is go back and pull basically our little fuse back there, because if you note right over here to the right where we're having to get to these bulbs, we got our battery management system and wires and stuff. You don't want to be taking any risk with one of these cars, so we're going to go on back here and disconnect the power from this hybrid battery. Okay, so we come back here in the trunk. I'm going to open up this little door. You're going to give this a lift up with your thumb, and while you're undoing that lock, you're going to just pull it back, slide it completely out. We'll just set that up here. Okay, so just for starters, you can see that we come over here. Now this one is pretty easy to get to. See, this is going to be our low, and it's easy to get your hand in here to twist that, and then for our high it's easier to get to here, and you only twist these things like a little quarter of a turn maybe. Now coming over to the driver's side, a little bit more difficult, but you do have room to get your hands in here and get to these. As you can see, I can reach this, and then coming back here, this is probably the more difficult. I can reach this one back over here, and you got to just turn them counterclockwise, that quarter of a turn there. Okay, so what we've done is just took this headlight out, because there's no way I'm ever going to give you a good image of what's going on here, and just briefly go through here. If you're needing to replace this amber blinker, there you have that. It's just a little quarter turn. Now you pay attention to the size of these notches, if you can see it at all. If not, you're just going to have to fiddle with it, but basically it only goes in there one way. So I can turn it. And see, I'm not even there. We go. So it's only going to go one way, so you may even mark it when you take it out. Okay, so here is our low, and basically we're just going to twist this counterclockwise. Okay, so we just turn this whole thing, and it may be, okay, it's really tight. And I don't think there's any particular way this goes in. You can pretty much, you only got the 4 notches, so any way you place that where you can get those notches to line up, and then just turn it that little bit, it'll lock. So you can see we got our low beam here, and you could either remove this first or just twist it. You're going to turn it this counterclockwise, this little bit, and you'll just pull. Now if you're going to replace with a halogen, you just give it a squeeze right here on these tabs. You can see you're just squeezing that, and that unlocks it. So there's your, now I don't know if I mentioned before, I couldn't really give you a before look at these, because every one, believe it or not, but one bulb, the low beam, is burned out on here. You can see there, H11. So if you're going back with a halogen, that's what you're going to go with. Okay, so we're going to get our H11, and it may look slightly different with the little notches, but it goes in nonetheless. So we're going to, we want this to face where these chips are on the side. So I know I'm going to have to start out at least like this to get it. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to rotate it. So that should, okay, that's locked. So let me look at it here. Okay, what I did was I put a mark with a permanent marker. Now you notice it's not perfect. So if this is straight up and down here, basically it's setting like this is what it is. But it may be close enough. It's probably not going to be exactly perfect, but it's pretty doggone close. So I think we're going to go with that. I don't think I'm going to be able to adjust this here any more than that. And actually a much simpler way is to put you a mark before you turn it in there, and that way you can check it that way. You know, I was looking at this again, and actually I'm incorrect, because if I straighten the headlamp out, because it wasn't sitting on my table like it'd be sitting in the car, it's actually exactly straight up and down, and the way it turned out was the cord's down at the bottom here. So we're just going to go ahead. Now the thing about this, you can get this plugged around the wrong way. So if I do that, I'm going to have to swap this around, which I can deal with that. Not a big deal. But you know, mainly I'm doing this so I can show you how this is going to go together, because it's pretty much impossible to show you in the vehicle. But you can see I'm pushing that up in there. We got all kinds of room. So there we have that low beam took care of. Very easy. We'll just go ahead, and this has a seal on it, by the way. Quarter of a turn. Okay, we're going to take care of the high beam. So just turn it that quarter of a turn. And again, this cap, I don't believe it matters how you put it on there, as long as you get your 3 notches to line up. Now, this one's a little bit different than the other one. Like I said, that's why I have to have this adapter. You want to get these before you get your LEDs, or you're going to be very upset. So we're just going to turn this counterclockwise. It's pretty tight. It just turns that little bit, as you see. And you can see that's a nice burned out bulb. This said, pay attention when you take it apart. You see how that part goes into this notch here, and that's exactly how I put my LED on there. So I don't care about touching this, but you know, if you're putting a new halogen in, have you some gloves or paper towel or something. You don't want to touch your bulb. But like I said, this, when it goes on there, if you got another halogen, you just plug it right back on there and twist it right back into place. Pretty simple. And it's only going to go that one way. So now we're going to get our LED. I've already got this little collar on here. And this we don't need to concern ourselves with just yet with this one. I need to get this and see if it's going to lock into place right here. Okay, and now just like if you were putting the halogen bulb, and you see where that goes in there, that's going to be down here at like 5 o'clock over to this side. As we're putting this in, it's going to be down there. That's the only way that it's going to lock. Okay, and I will say to do this in the car is going to be very challenging, on to say the least, on this part. Now what I've been sitting here messing with it for a minute, and what I've decided is I'm going to have to actually put the collar by itself in here first. There's just simply no way of holding this, and then we're going to have to get this in place, and then we will get the LED in there. But this here only goes with it at 5 o'clock, so probably can't even get it while I'm trying to record here, because it's kind of tricky. But I have to get it setting in there where these notches are lining up. Okay, so I've pretty much got it there. And now to kind of help turn it, I'm going to use my little plastic tool here to See if I can get it to turn. It's a pretty snug fit, and that's what really was making it difficult to try to get the LED in there. But now at least we got that locked, and all we have to do is determine, see, our LED has notches here. It's only going to go in there a certain way. So as I'm going in here, it's this way. If I turn it, it's going to go straight up and down. I don't want that. So I'm going to have to, at the very least, start out with it like this and rotate it until I can get it where I need it here, which is going to require me to pretty much have this wire this way. Alright, so I'm going to attempt this and see what's going to happen here. I definitely have to have that wire down. It's just not, no way, no how going to work any other way. Alright, it looks like right there, I've got a mark on this. Looks like right there is going to be perfect, and that's about where that wire is, just like I was saying. So this, like I said, if we have to flip this around, then so be it. Now I may have a little bit more trouble trying to fit this in here because this looks pretty tight. Okay, on this one, it's definitely going to be a problem. I'm able to fit the little, this part here in the housing, but I cannot fit this. So I'm going to have to improvise something, maybe tape it off or something, I don't know. But definitely on this bulb, that they pretty much engineered it where you cannot use these type. Now they got the LEDs that just you know, will plug in like a regular bulb, and you probably could get away with that. But I'm going to try to figure something out, maybe tape some, but this does have to be sealed off so no water's getting in. So I'm going to have to figure something out on that. But definitely it's a little bit more trouble than I thought it was going to be, but I really do like these LEDs. So I'm in this far, I'm going to go ahead and just go with it. Okay, so I wanted to try to show you removal in the vehicle on this one here. So this side is definitely easier than the other side. So if you're doing regular bulbs, you're not going to have a lot of trouble. You can see that I can easily get access to this. I could probably even get my LED in there. However, to fix this up to where it's not going to be leaking, I'm going to have to take this headlight out as well. But that's how easy it is to get to that one. We'll get to the one on the other side here. Right, so we're going to go ahead and get, I said this one's pretty snug to remove. It's really a tight fit. Same thing, we're going to turn it counterclockwise, that quarter of a turn. Give these tabs a squeeze like I showed on the other one, just so that you can get to. If you're just going with halogen bulbs, you're not going to have any trouble. All right, so I'm going to attempt to get my, and I have to be mindful of how I'm turning this thing so it's going to be lined up properly. It's a little bit more difficult over on this side because I can't see what I'm doing here. Okay, I think it's just really tight. Okay, so I figured out what I was doing wrong there. I wasn't pushing down on that seal hard enough. Now I did put a red dot on this. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, it's very difficult to see in here, but I put a dot there, essentially just like I did on the other one. That tells me that those lights are to the sides like they're supposed to be. So it's like basically straight up and down. Okay, and this side here is not a problem to connect. I probably want to check this out. Okay, and I was just confirming before I stuff this one in here that I do have that light working there. All right, we'll go ahead and replace this. So you can pretty much just fiddle with it, but it's only going to go once those notches are lined up where they're supposed to be, and then just give it that quarter of a turn. Okay, so I'm not even going to attempt to get this one in here because it's just too difficult, and plus I'm going to have to tape around here and seal this off. So we're going to go ahead and take this light out. Okay, I have an update. I actually figured out how to get this in here and make it fit on this one. Hyundai didn't want me to do it, but I figured it out. Because we're going to take this one back out. I can't believe it even worked, but it did. Okay, so prior to putting this light in, what I did was I slipped this down underneath in here and I wiggled it, and it actually went down in there fairly easy. Okay, so that's what I did. I slipped it down under here, and then I proceeded to get this thing at 12 o'clock like I need it, and I just turned it, push it in and turned it back like that. And that gets it at 12. So then, lo and behold, I was able to plug this in and actually got the lid to fit. I couldn't believe it. Now hopefully I can get this back in the same position. Now one might argue that it's covering the fan a little bit, but you know what? It is what it is. And I got it, I don't know exactly where I got this thing, but it will go if I get it turned a certain way. And there we are, got it back on. So I'm pretty happy. Well, in case you want to take your headlights out, which you may need to if you go with these lights, you've got to take your bumper off, and to get the access to these bolts here. And the bumper on mine's pretty simple, a couple tins up here on each side, tins on the fender well, and then a bunch of these little pop rivets, and pretty much comes off there. So the headlight is held in by 10 millimeters. Got one plug in down here. You can see where those tins go. Said the bumper, I really didn't want to cover that because I don't know if everybody is going to want to take these lights out, but it's pretty simple. It snaps in over here, and you've got a tin over here that you got to take loose, and then you got to pop them loose on the bottom, and then you got 10 millimeter up here on each side, and then some little snaps on each side. Pretty simple. This light just slides into these locks back into place. Got a 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter down here. So the long 10 millimeter goes right here. I've got the other ones just stuck up here in various places. And we got this one over here. So that's all I have done as far as removing these. Not to say that it couldn't be done in the car, but those high beams would be challenging to say the least, probably almost impossible over here with the battery management system in the way. So I would definitely want to take the light out. Okay, so we're going to test these out, and after that we'll put the fuse back in the hybrid battery. Okay, so you probably really can't tell much by these, but we'll go ahead and turn on, we got the lows on, we'll go ahead and turn on the brights too. And we'll test them out when it gets dark here. Alright, so we'll just come back here now and put our fuse back in. And it helps if you got it turned the right way. That side up. Just give that a push. Okay, so here we are with the low beams. I can't give you a before and after because none of the bulbs were working on here before. Here we are with our high beams. Don't know if there's going to be any adjustment. I hadn't really messed with it that much. And we'll take a look at it from outside the car. Okay, so here's a nice view from the side. And I don't think you can really tell from out here because it's so bright, but what's nice is this LED strip that runs around here now matches these bulbs. So it definitely has a nice look to it here. Okay, and again, here is the low beams. And here's a look with our high beams. And as you can see, these are quite bright. And like I said, I've never been disappointed in this brand. Really nice LEDs. Okay, so here we are going down the road. Just got them on the dims. And it is possible the adjustment could be off, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good right now. So the camera probably doesn't give it real good justice. We'll get it on a maybe a little bit darker road, but they're looking pretty good. Okay, so here we have it on the dim. Really makes a big difference. So these look like they're doing pretty good. Said I've never had any of these brand perform poorly. They're all have been really good, and they're usually way better than the original halogen. But you know, depending on, you can get better wattage halogens. You know, if you're just looking to get it a little bit brighter without going LED. I just, you know, prefer the LED a little bit and the looks of them. But either way, they get the job done. So even with the dim, I can still see really good on this dark road. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a good look at these lights. Okay, now you might have noticed that I don't have fog lights on here right now, but the plastic clips or whatever they're screwed into got broken on this bumper, so I'm gonna have to fix that before I can get those remounted and everything. Alright, so that's gonna do it for this video. I'm replacing these headlight bulbs up here on this 2013 Sonata Hybrid. I believe that these are the same for the non-hybrid, but I'm not 100% on that. But anyways, that may help you replacing these lights if you're doing halogen or LEDs, but we did get it done and got them to fit, so I'm happy with it. And they look really good. So that's going to conclude the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.